Across America, you're listening to the Veterans Impact Show, featuring stories of veterans who continue the mission in their communities with honor, courage, and commitment. Brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation and the Texas Veterans Chamber of Commerce. What a great day in Texas. We woke up this morning with cool temperatures, beautiful blue skies. Hey, we're back to normal. Love Texas in the fall. And I got to tell you, there's going to be some of the greatest football imaginable. It is our time of year. I love it. And speaking of our time of year, I have a great thank you to give to Nathaniel Smith, who runs our engineering, and to my wife, Diane, and to Chuck Wright. And Chuck right now is probably on his way here. He introduced me to a really great Marine, a Marine Veteran of the Year with the Marine Corps League, one of the finest men I know. Welcome, Ken Watterson. Hey, Guy, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Jim. Thank you. It's an honor being here. Thank you.
You served in Vietnam. You did 2 tours in Vietnam. You basically did 26 months. Got the Purple Heart. You got, well, here he is. You got all kinds of accolades for that. But most of all, your leadership that you learned in the Marine Corps, you saw a need in Dallas and you fulfilled it. Tell us about the Veterans Resource Center and how you got that started.
Wow, it goes back a long ways, Jim. Way back, I was elected to be commandant of the Marine Corps here in Dallas, Big D detachment. And one of my first duties, Jim, was to officiate a memorial service at Flagpole Hill. And, you know, I've never done one like that before. And I went out there a little bit early to prepare myself. And I come find out that the Marine was a biker. And there was a bunch of bikers there. And I got ready to bow. We served on the same gun in 1965 in Vietnam. Mm. And the only difference was I had a freaking haircut and he was a biker. And all the guys started beating up on me about I hadn't been helping with the VA for PTSD. And that sort of really opened my door to, I wanted to keep the door open, not down. So I got more involved with veterans issues. I was on the committee that helped bring our national cemetery here to Dallas, which I'm very proud of. It's a beautiful place. And it just involved this one thing right after another. And now I was very lucky to serve with the gentleman in Vietnam who received the Medal of Honor at Barney Farnham. And Barney told me I need to get back to Dallas and help out our wounded warriors coming in. They needed help at the VA. And they started a new polytrauma unit. So I got back. I met with leadership of the VA. And that's one thing I met Mr. Joe Dalpiez. And we started a van service that would go out and pick the Iraq veterans up and bring them to the VA hospital for their appointments. Our job was to sort of relieve the spouses so that they could have their life and continue jobs, and we would pick them up and take them to the VA and bring them home. That turned into one van to 8 vans, and we've done it about 6 or 7 years. During that time, I noticed we had a lot of homeless, and that's where I became involved with the homeless. And I ended up being their chairman, and still to today. Part of my dealings with the VA, I got more involved with how the claims were being handled. And we had a committee formed because North Texas Veteran Stakeholder Committee, which you're in Chuck are involved in. And actually we had a seat at the table to help turn our VA around, and I think we've done a very good job at it. Saying that, they were tear down the old National Guard Armory 3 blocks down the street. And I told them that, hey, we could use that building. And they said, what for? I said, it's to help our homeless veterans. So they asked me to present a plan, a business plan, which I did, and that's been 12 years ago. So we take care of homeless veterans. Half the building is for the homeless, the other half is for all veterans. Uh, 2019, we started a veterans welding program, which we put 9 welders through a program. At the end, they're certified. And this past month, we started a employment veterans employment center, and we had a lot of veterans looking for jobs, good jobs, and that was the intent of the welding program, to get some of our veterans off the street, get them trained and back into society and paying taxes and working.
I think it's important that the stakeholders that you put together, and both Chuck and I have been honored to be a part of that, have had such a profound impact on the VA healthcare system in North Texas. And you worked with the senior leadership, Jeff Milligan, when I first got to meet you, and then now Dr. Stephen Holt and Kendrick Brown and those people. And we've had a chance to really meet people and learn, and I think they have improved so unbelievably, especially in the last 6-7 years, from what I understand. So that stakeholders deal, actually, we met with a congressman from El Paso who came and said, how did you guys do it? And I was sitting there with you, and you said, well, we had the stakeholders group that, got involved, and that made all the difference. The community got involved, a lot of it thanks to you.
Well, I think we had good leadership on both sides. We had, the VA provided us the leadership that we needed. And there again, we had some good people in our stakeholders community, such as yourself, and a lot of leaders in the community. And that's big. I mean, we could sit there and tell them what we thought. We didn't get our way every time, but they listened to us. I think it's great that we have a seat at the table, and still do.
So, Chuck, you introduced me to Ken 7 years ago.
Something like that.
Yeah. And you've been involved with that. I think it's amazing how this has morphed and really done a lot to help veterans in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I think that's tremendously important. You have also, haven't you trained or helped set up some other veterans resource centers in some other cities as well? Ken, I think you and I were talking about that one time.
Yeah, we've had several groups come in to see how we done it and what our mission was, how we got it set up, and it's about 3 or 4 other cities are doing it, and they're doing a good job at it. We have run at a level where we're comfortable with. We operate on no grants at all. We're funded by veteran service organizations. Chuck has really been a blessing to us. He runs a golf tournament every year for us, and that's truly our biggest funding. And it's been a program that has been working great. And but there have been about 4 other organizations start up, and they're doing a good job at it.
When we also want to talk about, is it Valor Veterans? Is that the name of the organization you put together to take guys back to Vietnam?
I didn't put it together, but I was invited back in 2018 to attend a committee by some veterans that I knew, and I went to it, and I was sort of leery about it, but I sit there and listened to it, and their goal was to help veterans that had serious PTSD problems and take them back to Vietnam to help find closure. I spent 2 tours of Vietnam. I was overrun 3 times. Went in on my 21st birthday in Alcohol Valley, so I know what combat's about. I wasn't looking for closure, but I was interested in what they were doing. Ken Portier, I think both y'all know Ken. He's the OW.
Yes, quite well.
6.5 years in Hanoi, Hilton. He was invited to go to Hanoi, and he told me that if I would go, he would go to Alcohol Valley where I was shot down. If I would go to Hanoi where he was shot down, and knowing Ken, I said, okay, let's do that. Well, a few weeks before Ken, the trip captain, Ken, come up and said, I can't make it. Well, here I didn't have my passport and everything ready to go, so I went. You know, it truly was fascinating. We spent about a week at Hanoi. Uh, the prison was a lot more than what I thought it was going to be. He actually took a POW back and shot down. And only spent 1 year in Hanoi Hilton. But the Air Force pilot. I met with generals that I felt very uncomfortable with in a room. Had Eric Van's picture on the wall, Gaddafi, and I said, "What the hell are you doing here, Watterson?" But when the general started talking and they interpreted, he lost 200 troops, NBA, outside of Saigon, and we buried them with a bulldozer. And he was going to find out where they're at, so they could return the remains to their family. And it clicked on me. We had the same goal. We're worried about our troops and trying to help out. It was just a experience I never expected. We ended the trip. We went down to Saigon, and when you got off the plane in Saigon, it's like in 65. The heat hits you. You're in Vietnam. The people there were very friendly. Very few no flag, red flag. Got into the cab, and a young lady said, "You're GI." I said, "Yeah." She said, "We remember," and that was huge. But it was a trip that I will never forget. It was out of 12 of us that went over there, everybody come back with closure. About 2 months after we got back, my wife said, "You have laughed more in the last 2 months than the last 10 years." So I guess in a sense I did find some closure. And that sort of sold me on the program. I'm chairman of it now, and we're looking at an opportunity to take about 12 more back when the virus gets under control. I've seen closure in the other 11 people there, and it did work.
Ken, I never felt like I was really in that war because I was at sea on the carriers Oriskany and Hancock, and we were doing the air war. I never was in country, so I never really understood what all you guys went through. And I personally would like to be one of those. I've been a pincushion for the vaccine, man. I've gotten both of my vaccinations, the booster, and I've had COVID as well. So I want to qualify and go back with you. I'd like to see that and be with guys like you to be able to experience what I never saw, because I never really saw Vietnam. Closest we came was maybe within 35, 40 miles of the coast. And so I'd like to do that.
It's okay. It's truly an experience. It's something I didn't expect. I always ask people ask me about it, and I would say the only thing I left over there was good friends, and I had no intentions of going back. But it was it's a long airplane ride, but it was Hanoi was so different. It's still 50, 100 years behind everybody. It was amazing to me that the population was all young.
All right, we're going to have to go to a commercial break, but stay with us because we're going to be on Facebook Live. You're listening to Ken Watterson, Vietnam veteran, decorated Marine of the Year. And Chuck, thank you for setting this up with one of our great friends.
Oh, it's always a lot of fun. I love working with the Veteran Resource Center and Almost Veteran Services in Dallas. I was talking about them yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit when we come back. We'll talk about one of the committees that I sat on, but we wound up passing out some about $6 million of money for North Texas veterans yesterday, so that was pretty nice. So, Ken, we're about to end this idea that you do it grant-free. It's just not a good model. We need some funds down there.
Hey, we're going to do that. All right, we'll be right back after these words. This is the Veterans Impact Show. So
anyway,
now
we're having some fun.
Facebook, now you know the trials and tribulations of trying to get to the studio to record this and do it.
And one cannot do this without one's Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I look forward to this every Saturday. So it's kind of my thing.
I drink an energy drink too, and I tell you what, of course, I need it. And Ken, you're doing so great. I know you said you fell, but boy, you're full of energy and doing great. You must be drinking some good coffee too.
Third cup.
There we go.
That's Marine.
That explains it. He's got a little advantage on us this morning.
Now, I know the coffee that we had in the Navy aboard the aircraft carriers, you had to use a stainless steel spoon because if you used a plastic one, it would dissolve. I guess you guys in the Marine Corps, was even tougher than that, wasn't it? And that coffee must have been really brutal.
In country, the coffee was made in a 15-gallon pot. And they would get the water boiling and throw the coffee into it and let it boil for about 5-10 minutes and then cut it off. And if you get to the bottom, all you get is grounds. So you try to get there, you get the hot on top.
Crazy stuff.
So in Vietnam, you manned a gun? You manned some sort of gun? What was that?
Yeah, 105 howitzer, yes.
Oh, wow.
I was reading some letters I sent to my wife a couple months ago. We had some 600-round nights per gun. That's a lot of artillery.
That's a lot of rounds going down range.
Oh man!
So Ken, you mentioned before, you were gracious enough to allow me to jump on to a birthday Zoom with Colonel Barney Barnum. But talk about Colonel Barnum and how he earned the Medal of Honor. Just a great individual. And I want to tie this in. Yeah, be careful with that, man. You're overriding. You're messing. You're messing with my mojo this morning.
Well, okay, but your mojo better hurry up.
But we're getting kind of a little off on tangent. But what was really interesting is the show is about Charlie Mike continuing the mission, and you credit Barney Barnum with helping you to continue the mission. It's one of the reasons we have you on, the incredible work you do. But talk a little bit about how Barney Barnum continued the mission, because he wound up doing a lot after his Marine Corps career.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I stumped him.
Yeah. Okay,
well,
we've only got 30 seconds. So why don't we hold up on that till we come back from the break? And Facebook, stay with us. Go to our YouTube, subscribe to Veterans Impact Show. Share that with your organizations. And for those of you in South Texas, thank you for being on board. We want you to tune in, plug in, and send us an email. We'd love to be able to talk to you guys. So thank you. Here we go, right back onto regular radio. This is the Veterans Impact Show. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. Thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation and the Texas Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Now, let's continue this conversation. Chuck, you asked Ken a question while we were on the break talking with Facebook about his friend who is a Medal of Honor winner. Why don't you guys continue?
There was a contest?
Recipient, okay.
So, and it's important, keeping in mind for our radio audience, the show is about Charlie Mike, continuing the mission, the stories of the veterans who've made a difference in our nation and in our communities after their military service. And Ken had brought up Barney Barnum, and I'd like to drill a little bit into how Barney received the Medal of Honor, but then what he did when he got out, which is almost as amazing as Ken's story.
Well, Jim, we were talking about boot camp. I went in Marine Corps in January '65, and I was the only one to come out of boot camp with the orders for overseas, actually station battalion. And so I took my leave, went home, come back. We boarded a ship at San Diego there from Camp Pendleton at 3 o'clock in the morning, not knowing where we were going. We were told we were going to Hawaii. And the bottom line is, by July, we were in Da Nang, Vietnam. I was stationed in an artillery battery outside of Da Nang, and we was hit pretty good at first. At first, we couldn't even put a magazine in our weapon. That's the rules of engagement was unreal. Anyway, we got hit one night, and I met Barney. I think it was around December '65, and he come in from Hawaii, and he was our FO. A few days later, we had a fire mission, and Barney was out on patrol, and they got hit heavy. I think Operation Harvest Moon, if I remember right, and his commanding officer was killed right off the bat, and the next person was the radio operator. And so Barney, being a first lieutenant, everybody's looking at him. He just took over, and he called in close artillery. And it was so close that they were getting shrapnel every time we shoot around that we walked them into them. And we had to be very careful with our bubbles when we done it. He lost quite a few people on there, but he was able to get most people out of there. He was wrote up for Medal of Honor, which we knew nothing about that at that time. Years later, I went to a Marines event in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was at a bar, and there was General Ray Davis, Medal of Honor recipient, and talking to this guy, Barney Barnum. And I was amazed to see, really General Davis. I knew who General Davis was. And Barney turns around and says, I'm Barney Barnum. Who are you? And I said, I'm Ken Watterson. He says, you served in Vietnam? I said, yeah. Who with? Echo 212. Well, come find out, we served together. And actually, and met each other during that time. So, we talked, and he says that, I need to get back together and start helping our Marines. And that's really what sort of got me going down the path and joining the Marine Corps League and ended up where we are today. Barney was he was a Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy, which when I started getting involved with Marine Corps League, Barney was always my ace in the hole that I needed. If I need something, I call him. He can give you an idea. When we dedicated the National Cemetery in Dallas, we couldn't get a flyover. And I took one phone call to Barney, and we got a flyover. He was there to help us out when we needed it.
Is he still with us, Ken?
He is. In fact, he just celebrated a birthday last month. I think it was 83.
I never did catch it on the call if somebody said it.
And Barney's helped me over the years, and I said, what can I do for him for his birthday? So what I put together is a Zoom call with the Secretary of the VA, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and a lot of good people that he had known in the past. And I had Chuck Wright on there. And, Chuck met him. We went to D.C. a couple of times. Chuck was able to meet him. And it really, it blew his socks off. He couldn't figure out how we could do something like that. It was good.
All right. What a great conversation we have. Man, I'd love to meet Barney Barnum myself. So tell you what, let's do. Let's delve deeper into this and talk about what's next for the Veterans Resource Center. What's next for Ken Watterson? You're listening to the Veterans Impact Show. This is Chuck Wright, the great Chuck Wright, U.S. Marine, who introduced me to Ken Watterson, who's with us, and my wife, Diane, and Nathaniel. Thank you, guys, and stay with us. This is the Veterans Impact Show.
That we wanted to talk about is this weekend, tomorrow, kicks off what many of us now refer to as veteran season, which is pretty much September 11th to November 11th. This is a point in time of the year where veterans are probably highest, generally speaking, in the minds of Americans. And so one of the things that we want to do for the next 2 months, and we're going to go on, we carried on after that with a tradition called Wreaths Across America, and we will talk about that more in its own show coming up soon. But we want to talk about it, and we are focused on And what better time to talk about continuing the mission? Charlie Mike, as we call it. Great book by Joe Klein, featuring two guys, Eric Reiches, who was a Navy SEAL, and Woods' first name just Jake Woods flew right out of my mind there for a second, who founded Team Rubicon, and Reiches founded Mission Continues, which is obviously a variation of Charlie Mike. But we're going to have the heads of these organizations on. Both men have moved on. At one point, Eric Reiches was the governor of Missouri. I think he's running for Senate. I don't know. I don't remember. They get into politics, and I kind of lose sight of them. Jake Wood has moved on as CEO to take on some other projects that he wants to do, but great organizations, and they're giving back. This morning, we're talking to Ken Watterson, and Ken was one of the first people that I met, and I met him through, we were trying to create, well, actually, believe it or not, I met Ken, and I want to tell this story because we were talking about boys. I was going to say Boys of Summer, but that's a baseball movie. We were talking about Band of Brothers, and that morphed into a conversation about the Pacific. And one of the characters in the miniseries, which was excellent, the Pacific, is R.V. Bergen, who was a resident, and I got to tell this story because I've actually got a tie to this, who was a resident of, I believe it was Richardson, but here in the DFW area. And Ken was asked by the governor and our good friend, Sergeant Major Gene Overstreet, 12th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, to put together a tribute for R.V. Bergen. And we did that, and it was a huge amount of fun, and I met some other great people that night. But the story was that Governor Perry, at the time, his dad had served on Peleliu. R.V. Bergen had served on Peleliu, and they were going back to the 70th, and they met flying back to the 70th anniversary of the Battle of Peleliu. 30 seconds. Oh, cool. I can wrap this story up in 30 seconds. Not a problem. I went to Peleliu, aboard the USS Peleliu for the 40th anniversary. So made me feel a little old, but fortunately I had Ken by my side, and soon I would meet Jim, and I wouldn't feel so old. I like hanging out with old people because I feel young. But that's where I met Ken, and I got to learn his amazing story of continuing the mission. And it is a great story. We're going to segue back.
Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. Thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation and the Texas Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Now, let's continue this conversation. Hey, what a great day. We've got a tremendous Marine Corps Veteran Marine of the Year with the Marine Corps League, as well as Chuck Wright. Okay, he's just a really nice Marine.
I'm nothing special. How I got on that call with Barney Barnum is beyond me. Honored to be there, but I was, and of course, I went last, wishing him happy birthday, because I was absolutely the least important. We had some amazing people on that call.
Well, I tell you what, I'd love to talk to him. Maybe you could set it up where we can have him on a show.
He's absolutely great to listen to. He is fabulous.
Well, Marines, you know what I found? Maybe I made a mistake not being a Marine, but I got to tell you, I love the Navy, and all of my friends that were Marines were just tremendous. I bought a lot of beer for Marines. That way I didn't get beat on. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. Ken, I think that really one of the other things, I think we continue the conversation. I've kind of got lost in where we were.
Well, I was kind of sharing how I met Ken, and it was kind of an individual story, and it was important to me. We were honoring World War II veteran and author of Island of the Damned, but one of the characters from the movie The Pacific, and everybody in the Pacific, just like Band of Brothers, these were all real people. And you got to hear them, you got to learn about their stories, you get to learn about who they were. And that was one of the things that was so incredibly fascinating about both those miniseries, and I cannot wait. Supposedly, they're still working on a miniseries about the 8th Air Force. what those men went through flying the B-17s and the B-24s. I had an uncle who flew B-26s, flew 2 missions on D-Day as a crewman, but oddly enough came back with 2 Silver Stars. But we were talking about how Ken and I had met, and it was doing a gala to honor R.V. Bergen, who has since left us. But really what we're talking about, and I think, go ahead.
Barney, RV, he was from Lancaster, Texas, right? A few miles from the building. And I'm like you. I have been blessed to be around a lot of our older veterans. John Huffines. He owned Huffines Butane. He was on Iwo Jima. Dennis, father of Dennis O'Brien. He was on Petaloo. And when we started cemetery out at DFW National Cemetery, when we had a veteran that had no pastor, nobody to officiate, I would call Father O'Brien up, and he says, "Come get me," and he'd be right there. He had a lot of funerals out there for veterans. But the older generation has led us in a lot of ways. And John Huffines, when I got on my second tour, I served with the 13th Marines, which is part of the 5th Marine Division. 5th Marine Division was shut down after Iwo Jima and reactivated during Vietnam. That made me be eligible to be a member of the 5th Marine Division Association. And to this day, I've been the only Vietnam veteran president they ever had. But to be around that quality of people was it's awesome, and you learn a lot. But I'm like you, Chuck. It's our history, and they do teach us.
Yeah, there was the passing of an era just happened a day or two ago with Queen Elizabeth going, and you think about that generation. And I know Diane and I have met Don Graves many times from Fort Worth, and he was on Iwo Jima, and he talks about it. I think he was with the 5th Marine Division. I'm not sure.
No,
he was with
Third.
He was with the 3rd. Yeah, because he landed on the northwest side of the island. It's the only reason I can remember that, because our friend Woody Williams, who we have also recently lost, America's last World War II surviving Medal of Honor recipient, was with the 5th, and he landed on the southeast side of Iwo Jima. And he landed, although he was ahead of John Bazalone. I wanted to call him Jim, and that's not right. John Bazalone was another Medal of Honor recipient. They called him Machine Gun John. He earned the Medal of Honor on Guadalcanal, literally burning his hands, changing the barrels on machine guns as they held a ridge. That basically was the turning point, although the battle would go on for months, but it blunted the Japanese charge at that point in time. And I say that because his great niece, Jacqueline Bazalone, is a friend, still a big fan of the Marine Corps, and recently the Navy named a destroyer after John Bazalone. They launched an expeditionary sea base, an ESB, that's ESB-4, that is named after Woody Williams. And I have absolutely no doubt that once we lose Barney Barnum, which I hope is not for another 10 or 20 years, the Navy will be naming a ship after him as well.
That would be really good. And
go ahead, Ken.
They already named one. It'd be christened probably next year.
Oh, wow. Excellent. I love that. And what an appropriate honor for these men. John Bazalone, who had earned the Medal of Honor, fought to go back. They had brought him back to do war bond tours, and they were afraid to risk him because he'd become kind of a celebrity, and rightfully so. But he was a Marine's Marine, and he wanted to be back, and he went back to Iwo Jima, but unfortunately. And I was sitting, actually, the day I met Jacqueline Bazalone, we were sitting, they were showing it was a Woody Williams clip, and there are some great Woody Williams clips out there on YouTube, but they were showing one. And they actually showed John Bazalone's gravesite on Iwo Jima. Now, all of our Marines and all of our sailors who were there, who we lost there, were initially buried there, but their bodies were brought back, which has been fairly common in the Pacific, unlike Europe and North Africa. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off.
Yeah,
Ken got me started talking about history.
But let's talk about some of the great things these men did after they came back, being Medal of Honor winners. Woody Williams, what he did in starting the foundation, the Gold Star, that I saw him and you dedicated a memorial.
Yep.
That he started a foundation.
So he had worked for the VA. And one of the things he took away from working with the VA, and this is after he retired from the Marine Corps, retired as Chief Warrant Officer, and after he retired, went to work for the VA, and the thing that struck him the most was the families. And, you know, on 100%, I get it. I'm a military brat. I'm an Air Force brat. I get honoring those that serve, but I have also seen those that stand behind all of our veterans, especially those we've lost, and the Gold Star families. I just have the utmost respect for them, because for them, Memorial Day is every day.
Well, you know, Ken, what you do, Memorial Day is every day, that's true, but what you do with the homeless veterans in downtown Dallas, that population, I think, is shrinking. You told me the other day. We're making some headway there. Is that true?
Yes. There's a lot of things happening to help the homeless. There's still a lot out there that's definitely shrinking. You know, I can remember back in 2018 and 19, we were doing probably 65 a day coming in for showers and for food. And we're probably down about 20 a day now, and sometimes it drops down. You know, some organizations have stepped up and found out that, you know, some of the veterans had been working before they got homeless, and they would now get them hooked up to some benefits, Social Security and stuff like this. And so it seems like the pattern now is that at the middle of the month, we'll have more veterans, and it gets closer to the first when they get a check, then the numbers go down. And then when they spend that money, they're back in there again. So it's a cycle. And that was the intent of doing the wellness shop, and that's been very successful.
One of the great things especially about the Veteran Resource Center and Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas, are the success stories, and there are several featured on Ken's website, hvsd.org. But we have featured several of them. It's the Arlie Ermey Memorial Classic is the golf tournament that Ken referred to. One of them in particular is lucky, but not to talk about them so much because everybody can go see those stories. But Ken, talk about what you're doing to transition veterans from homeless to being productive members of society again. And then let's talk about what the future is for the Veteran Resource Center.
Well, you know, there again, we're doing several programs. You know, you mentioned the mission continues. When we started our program, I mentioned before, half is for veteran resources and the other is for the homeless. When we started, Mission Continues started in our building.
Yep.
And so did Carry the Load, Stop One, Charlene, John, done a great job. And the Women's Veteran Center started there. So we're able to help other organizations to get out and provide services to our veterans at no cost. And the future is that we're trying to get more education and jobs in that community where we're at. We have a lot of requests for jobs. And there again, we're putting out 10 welders every 9 weeks. And that's doing good.
Yeah, those are great jobs, good paying jobs. That there is a large demand for that skill set. So that's really valuable. And yesterday I had a chance to visit with Ed Warder, I think I said that right, with UNI. They've recently changed their name. I know he offices down there. Our good friend Domingo Mingo, as everybody calls him, Rodriguez, was down there, who is with the Military Veteran Peer-to-Peer Network. So your center is set up in such a way that it is not, these are assets that you support, but that are all unique and standalone, but you provide them with office space. You provide them with facilities and phones and things of that nature. And that is also incredibly important. And I'm trying to get Texas Veterans Network to house somebody down there full time. Another great organization, our good buddy Gus Karbakis is part of that. So talk about what the next 3 to 5 years look like for the Veteran Resource Center.
There again, it's going to be more locally in that area. It's going to be more jobs and education. There's two acres next to us that the VA owns. We're looking at maybe putting another building there, expanding what we're doing, and do other, things like electrical or washer and dryers and appliances. We're looking to do more training and education, and we'll be able to do that with the number of homeless going down. It's going to be able to let us expand to. We will do computer courses, and you'd be surprised how many in our area down there that know how to use a computer. My next project, I jumped from one project to the next, and I was in Metroplex Marine, General Carey. They put a memorial at the National Cemetery for the chosen few. It's very beautiful. Get a chance to go look at it. It's down in the assembly area. That was the first kind of memorial in our national cemeteries anywhere. They hadn't allowed that. And now that they have allowed it, we're working on to put a Vietnam memorial out there.
Oh, I think that'd be great.
Well, there's some people can't go to Washington, D.C., but we're still in the phase right now working on the design of it. But we feel that it's going to be really nice, and we just want to remember the loss. So that's the next project we're working on myself, and then working on doing something in Valor Veterans, going back to Vietnam. And it's Valor Veterans is not just Vietnam. We're going to be working with younger generation, and we can't go back to Afghanistan and Iraq, and we'll try to figure out how we can work with them on their issues too.
I think that's great. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to continue this conversation, then wrap it up and put this program back in the dock. I want to thank Ken Watterson for being on board. We're going to continue this conversation in just a second. You're listening to the Veterans Impact Show, where we bring continuing the mission to life by honoring veterans who are doing so much in the community, Chuck. And thank you for bringing Ken in, and thank you for all you do, and thank you for what we can do to try and further this cause to bring our communities of the veterans community and the civilian community together. That's important. That's very, very important. Come together. Together we are stronger. Together we can be united. So this is the Veterans Impact Show, uniting America.
Okay. Are we back?
Yeah.
We're still here with Facebook. Facebook, glad you're hanging out with us, continuing your Saturday morning with us. Granted, I realize a lot of people will be watching this on what we used to call tape delay. I don't know what it is in the digital age. It's YouTube. It's just YouTube. So it's YouTube. So, hey, 24/7, we're out there with the whole world.
Guys,
guys and dolls?
No. Steve Holt sent me an email yesterday.
Dr. Holt,
Dr. Holt.
All of those who don't shamelessly name drop. Was the head of the Texas VA.
Dr. Holt, who's head of the Texas VA, sent me an email that I wanted to kind of bring up because I see so many of these TV commercials and TV deals that are wearing us all out about Camp Lejeune and all of that crap. And basically there was an article done on ABC 9 TV, WSOC. I don't know where that's located. Maybe I should look it up. But they talked about a lot of scams going on.
Be careful of the scams.
How do you know? I didn't get a chance to call one of my attorney friends to say, how you know? Because in this it talks about some people who tried to do stuff and got burned by attorneys for thousands and thousands of dollars.
The sad thing about these class action suits is the only people that are really getting rich, and which is sad, are the attorneys. Now, legitimately, there were problems. There was bad water. It should have been dealt with. It wasn't. No clue who to blame for all of that is, and it's probably not really important. What's important are those people who had problems with that. But what our warning is, and you've got to be careful because there are rules about this stuff, just make sure you're dealing with somebody competent and credible. Find out the facts up front. And if you rate money, if you deserve money, by golly, we absolutely want you to have it.
Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. Thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation and the Texas Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Now, let's continue this conversation. Well, guys, I'm just having a great day listening to the conversation, being part of it with Ken Watterson, U.S. Marine, Vietnam veteran, 2 tours back-to-back, highly decorated. But the most important thing is he has continued the mission by founding and starting the Veterans Resource Center, being involved with Valor Veterans that you're now president of, and all of the things that you've done over the years to, I think, earn Marine of the Year more than once. That's a great thing, and you do so much for Dallas. Thank you again. And what would you say to a young man or woman who's military coming out, how to get involved in things? But also, Ken, what would you say to a young man or woman who's coming out of high school or college about, hey, start your life off in the military?
You know, I'd like to say that I was recommended going to Marine Corps by one of the best judges in Tarrant County. But it really is a change of life. It gives you self-confidence, leadership, and I think everybody should go into the military. You know, it gets you out of the hometown atmosphere and it helps you grow up. I really think it's good for everybody. And I really recommend it. I think that it's a sense of service for our country. And I think that everybody's going to miss it. They don't know. Don't you agree, Chuck?
Absolutely. Obviously, I grew up as a brat, so I decided I wanted to go into the family business. I was a little bit different. I met the Marine recruiter on campus. I'd gone to Texas Lutheran, now University. Back then it was Texas Lutheran College, with this wild idea that I was going to play football. I was 155 pounds. What I lacked in size, I made up for in a complete lack of athletic ability. Coach Jim Wacker walked over to me, put his hand, we weren't 15 minutes into the first practice, put his hand on my shoulder pad and said, "Son, I love your enthusiasm, but I'm seriously worried you're going to get hurt out here." And I said, "Thanks, Coach," walked off the field and didn't play organized football again until I was in the Marine Corps. And that was just flag football. But I met the Marine recruiter. It was very shortly after that. I walk around the corner. The Marine recruiter is standing there. I didn't know anything about the Marine Corps. And he said, he found out I was in the Air Force. He said, "Do you know the Marines have aviation programs?" And I looked at him, and I thought he had 4 eyes or 2 heads or something. I said, "The Marines have airplanes?" I didn't know that. Signed me up for a contract, and I never looked back. It was until my son was born, it was the single greatest experience of my life. My wife might shoot me for saying, "Well, I thought that's when we got married," which was another amazing experience, and we celebrated 20 years this week. So I got to throw that in because she's listening. Wednesday was our 20th anniversary.
She's not that old.
No, I know. I married her right out of junior high school. I mean, come on, guys. But I love the fact that Jim says that, because that also means I'm not that old. But continuing that point, what an incredible opportunity. And we see people today, and our friend Woody Williams would talk about this a lot. A lot of our friends were the opportunities for a young person to see the world, to learn other cultures, to open their eyes. I'm shocked at how many people, especially with COVID, don't travel anymore.
Also, the technical expertise.
Oh, my gosh.
Driving drones, the computers, all of the things technologically. Only a small percentage are men at arms. The rest of them are all support, and I learned a lot of great lessons.
Man.
I want to close this out with a prayer. Lord God, we thank you for our active duty military, and we pray a hedge of protection around them and keep them safe as long as you can. God, watch over them, because we really appreciate that. And thank you for our first responders. Thank you for our police officers and all that help us. And thank you for our veterans, and guide them and direct them so that they can continue the mission. This we pray in your name, Lord God. Amen.
Okay, you started the prayer a full minute early. Ken has a point he wanted to leave us with.
What's that, Ken?
Yeah, let's remember, last week was the anniversary of the 13 Marines we lost in Afghanistan. Let's remember them.
Yeah.
And a lot of you probably remember Jonathan Hayes. Jonathan was with Jody Dean. Jonathan passed away, and he was a Army medic, Bronze Star recipient, and he was a long friend. Not only made a veteran service. So keep them all in your mind.
Absolutely. And 9/11's coming up tomorrow. Thank you for our South Texas radio stations. Go to the No Bull Radio Network. There's a great event coming up in Gonzales. We want to back that. This is the Veterans Impact Show. Join us on Facebook. Join us on YouTube. Subscribe. Be a part of the movement to continue the mission. Thank you.